Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. All right, the wild card weekend of the NFL playoffs is officially about to come to an end, and we have one more game left to watch before wild card weekend is officially wrapped up. And the last game we get to watch is the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tonight at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. But the rest of this weekend, it was a truly wild card weekend because all but one game was all within one possession, and the competition was outrageous. The one game that wasn't a close competition was the very first game of the whole weekend, with the Seattle Seahawks taking on the San Francisco 49ers, and the 49ers beat the Seahawks with ease, beating them 41-23. Then the next game after that, we had the Buffalo Bills beat the Miami Dolphins 34-31, and the most surprising thing out of this game was that the third string quarterback in Miami, Skylar Thompson, actually had himself a solid game and kept this game within reach for the most part, and he completely showed out for Miami. It looked a little bit iffy on whether or not it was going to be a blowout, because it was 17-3 at one point in this game, but Miami's defense was able to step up for them in a lot of ways and keep this game within reach for Miami as the game progressed. The next game after that was the Giants versus the Vikings, and the Giants actually had the lead the entire time, and they ended up beating the Vikings 31-24. And here's the thing, Danny Dimes had an historic game. Not by numbers wise, like how high the numbers were, but it just in totality of what his numbers were, because he did something that no other quarterback did in NFL postseason history for a single game, and that is having 300 passing yards, along with 2 passing touchdowns and 70 rushing yards in totality. Danny Dimes is starting to unravel and show how good he really is. But here's the thing. The biggest thing about the Giants this year is their head coach, Brian DeBole, and he has been phenomenal being able to coach these Giants up and make them look like a great team. And he is easily coach of the year. The next game after that, we had the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Baltimore Ravens, and what sealed this game was the Ravens were about to go in and score a touchdown and take the lead for themselves and go up 24-17. But unfortunately, Tyler Huntley ended up fumbling the ball, and Sam Hubbard was able to recover the fumble and return it for a 98-yard touchdown and win the game 24-17 for the Cincinnati Bengals. And it was crazy because the Ravens were driving again, and they were about to score and potentially tie it up. But here's the thing. The way that this game went, I'm pretty sure that the Ravens would have won this game if Lamar Jackson wasn't injured, because this game could have very easily been a good couple score victory by the Ravens if Lamar Jackson was in. Now, the craziest game, and I mean the craziest game that you could have ever watched in your life happened in the second game of the whole weekend, and it is easily one of the best comebacks that you'll ever see in your life too, because it was the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Los Angeles Chargers. And how this game went down, that entire first half, it was straight Chargers, 27-0, and they just kept stacking up on points, turnover after turnover after turnover. And what was going on with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had an all-time low with performance because he threw 4 picks in that game, and it was all in the first half because those 4 picks came on 4 of the first 5 possessions that the Jacksonville Jaguars had. And right when that was going on, all when hope was lost for the Jaguar fans, and they thought, okay, season 1 is over. Great run by Trevor Lawrence being able to get to the playoffs. But as soon as everything and all hope was lost, this is when Trevor Lawrence started to step up because he was able to get the Jacksonville Jaguars on the board, scoring their first touchdown on the game at the end of the first half, right before halftime, making the score 27-7, finishing a 47-yard drive by passing a 9-yard touchdown to Evan Ingram. And the second half was where the party started for the Jaguars because for the Chargers, they could not score at all. The only thing they did was score 1 field goal, and this game could have actually been sealed by Cameron Dicker, the kicker, because he had a chance to at a second field goal, and it ended up being a 40-yard field goal, but he ended up missing that, giving Jacksonville daylight to do something with that miss, and boy, did they capitalize on it, because in that second half, they capitalized and scored a touchdown, 3 touchdowns, with a 2-point conversion, a field goal to make this score and for them to take the lead. And here's the thing, with what was going on with the Jaguars, Travis Etienne and Evan Ingram were the main guys that were producing and getting them down the field for them to be able to score. And here's the thing, even when Trevor Lawrence had 4 picks, he still ended up having a dominant game because he threw 4 touchdown passes as well, and he ended up winning the game. Or the kicker actually ended up winning the game for the Jacksonville Jaguars, beating the Chargers 31-30. And it's absolutely crazy because it was one of the greatest comebacks in NFL playoff history because the Jaguars came back from a 27-point deficit, and I don't blame you for anyone that decided to skip the entire second half after the Jaguars were down 27-7 because that easily looked like the game was over. But in that situation, Trevor Lawrence said, "We are down but not out," and he made it possible, beating the Chargers 31-30. But here's the thing, the Ohio State Buckeye fans in the college football world are unfortunately saying goodbye to another Ohio State QB great in CJ Stroud, because CJ Stroud just announced a couple hours ago that he is declaring for the 2023 NFL Draft via social media. And what he vented on was he thanked the Buckeye fans for being great fans, supporting him, and he talked about all the trials and tribulations and all the stuff that he went through as an Ohio State Buckeye player. And now, since he is going to the NFL now, if CJ Stroud is able to continue this success and what he was able to do as a Buckeye at Ohio State and put it into the NFL, I have no doubt he will prove all the doubters wrong and have a successful career. But here's the thing. The NFL is an entirely different beast, and there are tons of players who have had great college careers but go on to the NFL and it completely plummets for them. But the league, it changes as time goes on, and CJ Stroud could be the next great for any organization that needs a quarterback right now. Now, going into the NFL for CJ Stroud, where's he most likely to go? Well, out of the top 10 NFL draft picks that are going into this year, there are 5 teams that need a quarterback right now, but 4 of them have the most realistic shot at getting CJ Stroud. And the reason I don't say all 5 is because the Houston Texans have the 2nd overall pick, and they're most likely going to get Bryce Young when the time comes. But who knows? They might switch it up and go with CJ Stroud. But anyways, when it came to CJ Stroud at Ohio State, before I get into who needs him in the NFL, this dude was a beast, and he is arguably the greatest Ohio State quarterback that ever played for them, because this dude, all he would do is win, and he was a passing machine. Now, here is what CJ Stroud did. What he did is he was a 2-time Heisman candidate, runner-up. His record was 22-4, but unfortunately he did win in the regular season, but he couldn't beat his arch nemesis in the Michigan Wolverines, losing both times, and he couldn't win in the playoff when it mattered. He was close, but it was just a terrible kick by the kicker at the end of regulation that gave Georgia the win to get to the national championship. But the other things that CJ Stroud did is his passing records, he was all amazing, because he almost broke a lot of the records. But and here's what happened is he had the 2nd most passing touchdowns in a single season with 44. He also had the 2nd most total passing touchdowns in Ohio State history with 85. He also had the 5th most total offensive yards as an Ohio State quarterback with 8,259. And he also had the 2nd most passing yards in Ohio State history with 8,100 passing yards. And the one thing he did have the most of was the most passing yards in a single game. Which is 573 yards, and that was against the Utah Utes. And he also does have another passing record, which is the most 6 touchdown passing games, and he did that 3 times. Now, let's get into on who could get CJ Stroud in the NFL draft. Now, the 4 teams that need him, for starters, is the Seattle Seahawks, who have the 5th pick in the NFL draft. And yes, they had Geno Smith, and he had a good year getting Seattle to the playoffs, having a total Cinderella year with no one seeing this coming, having 4,000 plus passing yards and having that solid year. But here's the thing. Geno Smith is not the future of Seattle, and that's what Seattle needs to do. They cannot keep Geno Smith. Yes, he did have that good year, but he is not going to keep that up for longer. They need to go with a new guy and look into the future if they want to have longevity in getting back to the Super Bowl like they did with Russell Wilson. And the other teams that are going to need a quarterback are Detroit at 6, Las Vegas at 7, and Carolina at 9. Detroit's a bit iffy because they do have Jared Goff, and he's been stepping it up a little bit ever since Dan Campbell came in the picture. And Detroit is going to be a continuous playoff team for years to come because Dan Campbell is the guy for Detroit. He has turned that organization around, and they're going to get better and better. They just need that quarterback because they have the weapons and they got it on offense and they got it on defense with great defensive players, especially in Aiden Hutchinson, who is potentially going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Now, with Las Vegas and Carolina at 7 and 9, these guys are going to need him the most. For one, with Carolina, is because Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold are completely washed. They haven't done anything and have hardly won since they came into the NFL. And their talent and career is completely done. They will not be able to produce that much more and be a great quarterback in the league. With Las Vegas, they're looking to trade for Derek Carr, so they're done with him. And the best thing that either of these teams could do is negotiate and trading draft picks when the time comes with the other 5 teams that do not need a quarterback and seeing what they're able to get out of it so they can get a higher pick out of it as well, to see if one of those 2 teams can and possibly solidify their future with CJ Stroud. And here's the thing, LeBron James's future in the NBA is still nowhere in sight, even in year 20, because he is continuing to show the whole world that he chooses to defy his own odds on how great he wants to be and how long he wants to keep this up, and constantly making his opponent look soft game in and game out. And last night, we got to see one hell of a game between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Los Angeles Lakers, because what transpired in this game was we had 4 players drop 20-plus points. We saw an MVP performance between Embiid and LeBron, and Russell Westbrook ended up dropping a triple-double for himself yet again. And how this game went down, it was wire to wire as you could possibly get from start to finish, and there was hardly any decent lead in this game, because the highest lead was 6 to 7 points by both sides of the ball. And any time that a team would get that 6 or 7 point lead, the other guy would just diminish it with a couple of jump shots quickly, and then the game would be tight again. And it was that way the entire time. Crazy dunks, crazy fadeaways, insane blocks were happening all over the court in this game, and that was the very definition of this game. But when it came to the very end of the game, the 76ers were able to go up by 4, winning the game at that point 113 to 109, and there was 40 seconds left to go when that happened. And Joel Embiid could have sealed the game even more, but Russell Westbrook was sizing him up and helped the defense out by making that happen and making Embiid miss his shot. But before that happened, LeBron was able to pass it out for a 3-point shot to get the game within 113 to 112. But then when the Lakers got this ball back, after what Russell Westbrook was doing, sizing Embiid up, he tried to play a little bit too much of hero ball, because at the beginning of the possession, when they were in the scoring range, Russell Westbrook nearly lost the ball, and that could have cost him the game, but that still didn't do anything, because even when he tried to drive down and score the game-winning shot, that shot did not work out at all, because the ball ended up going nowhere near the basket, and the 76ers ended up winning the game 113 to 112. And now the Lakers are back to losing again, because now they are on a 3-game losing streak. But here's the thing. The most important thing that happened in this game was LeBron's scoring, because he was able to score his 38,000th point in this game, becoming the second player in NBA history to ever do so, and is only 363 points behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar before he ties him, and he's 364 points away from breaking that record. And what LeBron has been doing this season, in year 20, the dude is averaging nearly 30 a game. He's averaging 29.2 points per game right now, and if he continues to keep that average up, which most likely he will, it will take him 12 games to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record, and where that falls on the schedule is that he is going to break that Kareem's record sometime at the beginning of February, and there are two teams on where he could potentially break the record in either of those games, and the teams are the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm kind of personally hoping it's the Milwaukee Bucks because it would be so much more poetic if that happens, because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played for both those guys, and he ended up winning championships for both those teams as well. And right now, it's only a matter of time before LeBron breaks his record. And once he breaks Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record, he is the undisputed GOAT. All right, that's the end of the Calvin Tobin Show. Please subscribe to my channel at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports media. And please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports news whatsoever. And I'm out.